Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Nutrition and Fitness Podcast. My name is Ryan. I'm a registered dietitian. My partner, as always, is Matt Sells. He's a certified personal trainer and a certified health coach and a certified nutrition coach. And he's got some more acronyms too. Either way, similar to the end of last week's episode, we forgot to record an intro for this week's episode. So this is the intro. We'll get to our podcast soon, where we continue with part 2 of Nutrition and Fitness Acronyms. But if you haven't already, go back and listen to part 1. That was last week's episode. Share it with your family and friends, and give the podcast a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to it on. Go over to franchisenutritionandfitness.com, sign up for your free meet and greet, where you can get started with Franchise Nutrition and Fitness today. Or if you have any questions about this podcast or previous podcasts, you can head down to the bottom of the page to hit the contact page and send us any questions or comments on this podcast or previous episodes. Anyway, let's get back to part 2 of Nutrition and Fitness Acronyms.
So we'll go ROM, range of motion, that I think we've talked a little bit about before. Like, oftentimes I think you walk into any gym and you will see people not getting the full benefit of the exercise, especially going back to talking about first one with the DOMs, with that eccentric phase of the lift, of actually you controlling the weight, not letting the weight control you, so that full range of motion on that downward part.
Real quick, so give me an example of eccentric.
So eccentric would be when the muscle is lengthening. So for instance, the easiest one to show is like, so we've got the concentric phase. When you think about contracting the biceps on a curl, they're lengthening when we come down. And oftentimes people will not, number one, won't do a full range of motion. You're just kind of seeing that rocking and just constantly in the concentric phase. Or, like I always say, people are letting the weights control them, not controlling the weight. So they're just negating that as well. So not getting that full range of motion, they make gravity do the work instead of their muscle. Because the muscle, as it's lengthening, it is still actually part of the movement. It's not just the concentric and back down. So full range of motion, ROM, or like we've made fun of the, kind of kip up pull-ups and stuff like that. People barely coming down with that. The short arm, T-Rex arm bench press and stuff like that.
There's benefits to like half reps and pause.
Oh, definitely. Like I love doing partials. Like but for like general population, like that's an advanced technique. For general population, let's get the movement down first.
Man, so this is going to be fun. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I want. Scroll, sorry. GPP, general physical preparedness. So this is one of the things where it is on my list over here. I was trying to make sure I got the correct words that go with that acronym. But GPP workouts are supposed to be workouts that are just quote unquote general regular preparedness workouts. This is like the functional fitness where people love that. It's just, this is all you need. All of these GPP workouts. It's just like things that should have some function in your life, where like squats, deadlifts, chin-ups, that kind of thing, like things that are going to be regular activities that are going to help get you in there. So, but it's the initial phase of training, right? So it's like in the very beginning, it starts, there are cycles. There's like a macrocycle, a mesocycle, or a microcycle. Those are all different other words, not acronyms, but they each happen around your workout. So I don't know. That's a long explanation for GPP. Really, it's like general. General is the thing you got to think about. This is just regular workouts. We're not trying to do anything that's going to be crazy and strenuous. Like if you're a pro athlete, a GPP workout is going to be something you use in like a recovery phase. It's not going to be something that is your regular, like specified program routine. But that's GPP.
GPP, yeah, you know me. I'm down with GPP. So. Dude, that's my list. I mean, there's so many more things I could have added, but
Okay.
that's what I've got. I know you went above and beyond.
I have some more. You ready? You want me to just rattle them all off?
Just rapid fire. Let's do that. Let's
All
do
right.
lightning round.
AMRAP. What's AMRAP?
AMRAP, as many reps as possible.
Yeah, or as many what's the other thing? Rounds as possible. Like people will do that as two. Also, so they'll substitute that R for reps or rounds. I often do not program AMRAPs for people.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I like having an actual goal. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm doing fitness testing, maybe to determine like a push-up test, yeah, like that's non-timed, but it is AMRAP to determine your muscular strength and endurance for your chest, triceps, and shoulders. But yeah, writing an actual program, there's not a whole lot out of that. Like I take that back. Like there's occasionally like kind of like a chest day for me personally. I'll finish it with push-ups, get a nice little pump, see how tired I am, and if I'm like, oh, like I can barely do 10 push-ups, great, I'm tired, let's take it home.
Yeah, I will say on the classic 5-3-1 program, there's some day in there that's like a 5-3-1 plus. So like the 1 plus would be as many reps as possible. But I feel like in that classical setting, that's going to be like 2 reps, maybe. Like if you're trying to get just 1, you might manage to eke out 2.
Right.
But what you commonly see it currently is in like big box kind of CrossFit gyms where it's like you just have a timer going. You're trying to do as many reps as possible of a specific
sacrificing form on
right.
super complex, dangerous lifts.
Yeah. Olympic lifts for time, like that's a terrible idea. I'm not saying that people don't do it, but also a lot of those people are on some kind of PED.
PED, I was gonna say, yeah, that's a PED that if they cycle off, they'll have to PCT.
Yeah, post-cycle therapy. So you've thrown out the random acronyms that aren't on this list, but you know why?
WTF? Yeah.
Yes. What the fuck, Trot?
what the fartlek training? Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I will say the one instance where I would program a quote AMRAP would be like a burnout set on the last set of something. Like if you're doing bicep curls or tricep press downs, usually something that's like a singular muscle, not a compound movement, just the end of a set, last exercise of this particular muscle groups kind of thing. That could be a good example of when you want to use an AMRAP. Or if you're running the rack.
Yeah, I love running the rack with curls.
Yeah.
5 pounds never felt so heavy.
That's one a humbling event when lifting the 5-pound dumbbell is really painful. And another one I have is EMOM, EMOM. What's EMOM?
Remind me.
Every minute on the minute.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why I didn't remember it, because it's not. I don't program that way ever. Literally ever. Yeah.
Yeah. The only EMOM exercise or routine that I've ever done, like me just personally, was with a running exercise where we had to do it was like you ran however far you could get. Like we were going, it was kind of like suicides, or I don't know what they're called now. They have another name.
Yeah. Oh, do they have another name now? Okay. I mean, that makes sense, but that's about to sound really bad. I was like, it makes sense, but gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what they're called.
But this exercise where you run from one specified point to another and back and forth, increasing the amount of distance that you travel. So if you're on I'll use a football field because that's the easiest example. If you're on the goal line, you run out to the 10-yard line, back to the goal line. Then you run to the 20-yard line, back to the goal line, and so on and so forth until you get all the way to the other end zone, the other goal line, and you run back. You go do that over and over. But instead of, we just do it on the field. And so you would run as far as you could for a minute, whether it's back and forth or whatever, and then stop, rest for a minute. And then the next minute they make you run again.
And that's the only thing that I can think that I've ever done that was an actual every minute on the minute. And then we were talking about full range of motion earlier, right? The ROM. So ATG.
Ass to ground or ass to grass.
Ass to grass. A squat form that I do not utilize. So, and there, people have different opinions. One of our favorite people really advocates for 90-degree angles for all of their exercises, where he suggests that you don't have to go past that. So like your shin to your femur, which is around the knee joint, that only has to be 90 degrees, as well as your torso to your femur, which could also just be 90 degrees for a squat. He says that's your max effectiveness there.
I think it's contingent on so many different things. It's person to person. Like somebody with limited hamstring flexibility is not going to be able to. Somebody with, back issues is not going to be able to. Like it's all about keeping proper form. Some people can keep 100% proper form and do that. With 2 knee surgeries and ankle surgery and lower back issues, there's no way I'm ATG on my squats ever. Like,
yeah. Well, that's kind of what he advocates for. So he talks about like you can get all the same effectiveness as an ATG squat if you just go to 90-degree angles. And he talks about it's a body efficiency thing. He has a doctorate of kinesiology. One time,
right? I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I love his stuff. Like, to me, it's risk versus reward, and like why? Like for certain athletic endeavors, like it may mimic a functional movement that you have to have in competition. Sweet, so I should probably do it. Again, general population, like why? Like what are you getting out of it?
I go with the other more traditional approach, which is when I do squats, I'm not doing ATG and I'm not doing 90 rep angles. I'm doing, or 90-degree angles. I'm doing where my hip crease gets to the height of my knee. All right. So for me, that does not put my ass on the ground. That actually puts my ass several inches above it, because
well, that's where I'm going to bring up one of your favorites, and I like box squats because it gives you a target to make sure.
I'll never do them. Every once in a while I think about it, because like I have weightlifting boxes out there that you can do rack pulls off of and stuff like that, or deficit deadlifts off of. And so if I built them in the way so that way they can stack on top of each other. So if I have both of them stacked up and I have some extra stall mats, I can actually make a box squat. So I think about it sometimes, and then I'm like,
You've been scarred for life.
Yeah, it's the fear. Like, that's the whole thing. He was wearing compression shorts, so it shouldn't have happened. So,
go back and listen to what episode did we discuss that, for anybody that's wondering what the hell we're talking about.
Oh yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. All those
perfect. That's one of the very early episodes.
All right, and then so I have 2 more fitness acronyms and 1 nutrition one. We'll save the nutrition one for the last one. But CNS,
central nervous system.
Central nervous system. This is talked about an excessive amount. I feel like there are some true things with this and some things that people get over the top about it. If you look up stuff about the CNS with exercise, you'll see both sides of the argument, where people will say that you can only do X number of reps and then you're frying, quote unquote, your CNS. Right. You're going to start failing all the time. So you got to be careful because you don't want to exceed that. Or you have to do a certain number of reps in order for your CNS to get used to doing thing. My opinion, this is not scientifically based at all. This is just totally anecdotal kind of thing. I think it really just comes down to your performance of the lift. So if you need to do a warm up that's going to use 20 total reps of a squat, and you just got the bar on your back until you can get the form correct, so that way you're then start adding weight to it. I'm not saying you have to do 20 reps, but somebody might say, well, that's going to burn out your CNS. You won't be able to perform the rep later. It was like, well, if you did body weight squats, that would also do the same thing.
Right. Like yeah, I think that's one of those things that there's like you said, kind of a valid argument with it. but it's gotten so misused. It's kind of like the all-encompassing burnout. People, oh, this, you do too much of this, you're going to be burnout. And depending on the individual, it takes a lot.
Yeah. Like overtraining. We hear that would be the part where like you end up frying your CNS because you've overtrained. But I feel like the only good example of overtraining is like rhabdomyolysis. And so you never want to be there.
I mean, like, well, like I think there's definitely, I don't want to say milder symptoms, but milder symptoms of overtraining. But like if you're constantly sore, if you're constantly feeling lethargic, if you're the loss of motivation to exercise, like then it's probably a good time to to take a few days off.
If you're exercising so much that you pee blood, that's not.
I think that would go without saying, but I don't know. That's probably
go without saying. Some people might.
I was gonna say there's probably some people that just like I love people that like love to work out until like they throw up. It's like, no, that's your body telling you that you did too much. That's not vomit.
You overdid it. Your CNS would be fried. And so then the last exercise one I have is TUT. T-U-T.
Time under tension.
Yeah. This is kind of what Matt was alluding to earlier with the eccentric phase. So another, Matt used a bicep curl. Another eccentric phase could be if you're doing a lat pull down when the bar is going up, that is lengthening your lats, right? So, and the pull down is the concentric phase.
So that's where you see a lot of people. It's just
right. Yeah. You want the pull down to be the fast part, and the time under tension, which is the eccentric phase, not necessarily the concentric phase, but it all adds all that together. That's all added together in your time under tension, because even when you're contracting, you're holding the weight up into its place. This is not a lat pull down. That's an open chain exercise. This is talking about closed chain exercises, like a squat bar on your back. Your body's under tension. You're going down, that's the eccentric phase. When you go up, that's the concentric phase. All of that amount of time is your time under tension.
And there's been a lot of research done recently that starting to support the time under tension is even more important than like even worrying about the rep range as far as like what you're training for and training for muscle hypertrophy and all that fun stuff. So yeah, you may be doing the 8 to 12 reps, but if you're not, not the proper time under tension, you're not getting the full benefit of it.
Yeah, we did have a comment on one of our posts the other day on the Facebook page. Somebody asked about our, if I had a, what, now I'm blanking on it, but it was a TUT question. It was a time or attention question. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It's all happening. By the way, is that rack that you posted? Is that your, what gym is that?
It's the athletic club that I work out at right now that I will not let the membership renew in a month.
Okay.
So I won't name them.
Yeah, that's okay. They asked, do you have a tempo on this workout? And so a tempo could also be utilized as a time under tension. And the tempo that I said that I use typically is a 3-1-1, right? So that's a 3 seconds in the eccentric phase, a 1 second at the bottom, or
pause,
the pause at the top, and then a 1 second concentric phase. So trying to just get the rep back to the starting point as quickly as possible. And the whole point of that is to try and maximize the hypertrophy out of the exercise. All right. So now the last acronym that I have on my list is IIFYM. If it fits your macros.
So, bro.
This was popularized by a nutrition scientist, and they were big in the IIFYM camp. I also advocate for macro counting, making things fit in your macronutrient, because that also allows you to have the greatest freedom and range of motion inside of a calorie budget. So let's say you really like nuts and seeds, right? nuts and seeds, while good for you, are also very high in fat. They have a lot of fat in them and a small amount of protein in them. So making sure that you're allowed to have your nuts and seeds that you enjoy can still, but within a calorie limit, your budgets, that way you can achieve your goals of whatever you want to do, is going to be easier than if, let's say, somebody comes around and limits your fat that you can have. Like, you have to have very little fat, then you wouldn't be able to have those nuts and seeds. But if you can make it fit, the nuts and seeds fit in your macro count, you can adjust your fat to be higher and your protein to be what it needs to be. You don't ever really want to go lower, but you can adjust your balance out your carbohydrates and your fat so you can still have all the foods that you want just inside of your calorie budget.
To actually get to eat what you enjoy and not demonize any particular food or any particular macro, just making you work for it.
Still my favorite example. A Lara bar and Reese's have the same macros. I mean, the Reese's.
Well, the example I posted today, like check out the Facebook post. But yeah, the like Frankenberry cereal. Like, it's October. Love me some of the monster cereals. Like, putting it next to a thing of Raisin Bran Crunch and label reading side by side. In a lot of ways, the Frankenberry is, quote, healthier. It's got less added sugar. Like, it's less carbohydrates, less total calories. Like,
it's more delicious, is what it is.
So, I do love some Raisin Bran Crunch, though. Like,
yeah, I'm not even thinking Raisin Bran Crunch, but I mean, I go for some Count Chocula, and I have quickly and plenty of times said on here that I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That stuff is delicious. General Mills, hit us up.
Yeah, right. Like, do you want your children's cereal endorsed by a fitness and nutrition company? Because damn it, we'll do it. Like, I want just a franchise nutrition and fitness, just simple, just like plastered right there on like Frankenberry's forehead. Just
yeah, I don't want to be on the box of Wheaties, man. I want to be on the box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Okay, put us over there. I would like that. That'd be awesome. I would totally.
I feel like we need to start tweeting them. That's we may be on something.
You know, I have an odd connection. I will have to talk. I'm not going to say anybody's name. I just happen to know some people high up on the chain at GM over there at General Mills.
So keep in mind, if you listen to this podcast, start a write-in campaign to General Mills for F&F sponsorship.
Yeah. I will happily talk about the deliciousness of your cereals on this podcast all the time. But either way, so that's a long list of acronyms that we went over. If any of you out there have other acronyms that you have heard of or used, let us know. Head on over to the Franchise Nutrition and Fitness Facebook page, or hit us up on any of the other social media sites, or you can go to franchisenutritionandfitness.com, go to the contact us link at the very bottom of the page and let us know the acronyms that you've seen before. Or while you're over there, sign up for your free meet and greet. We can go ahead and get you started today on meeting all of your nutrition and fitness goals, so that way we can utilize all of these acronyms with you. But anything else, Matt?
I mean, ultimately, I think we need to take it home. So what do we always say at the end of every show?
Maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.